There is a sound you hear only when you are quiet enough, the sound of something falling, not breaking, but finally releasing like an old leaf, letting go of a branch. It doesn't resist. It doesn't mourn. It simply floats. We live in a world that worships accumulation titles, trophies, timelines. We're told that to lose something is to fail, but not everything that leaves you is a loss, and not everything you carry is a blessing. Look around. The trees don't cling to their leaves in autumn. They don't beg for what's ready to go. They know letting go is nature's way of preparing for something new. But we hold on to people, to expectations, to versions of ourselves that no longer breathe, as if gripping harder could bring life back to what is already gone. Why is it so hard to loosen our grip? Because we confuse permanence with safety. We think we are safer holding on to what we know, even if it wounds us, even if it weighs us down, even if it whispers softly but persistently, "You've outgrown this." Letting go is not giving up. It is not weakness. It is not defeat. It is the silent strength of the river that flows forward, not backward. It is the bravery to say, "This no longer serves me," and that's okay. It is trust in the self that remains when everything else falls away. Imagine a hand clenched so tight around a stone, its fingers turn white with strain. What would happen if it simply opened? Would it lose something, or would it gain its freedom? Letting go is not always loud. Sometimes it is a quiet sigh after a long held breath. Sometimes it is a tear that rolls down your cheek, not because you are sad, but because you are finally honest. We do not let go all at once. It happens in fragments, one old belief at a time, one expectation at a time, one illusion at a time, and in its place space, space for peace, for truth, for the self that is no longer distorted by what it tried to carry. There is a Japanese art called kintsugi. When a bowl breaks, the cracks are filled with gold, not hidden, not erased, but honored. Letting go doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means holding what was with love and choosing not to let it define what is. Can you feel the breath in your body? The inhale, the exhale? Do you notice how it never holds on? It comes, it goes. It trusts the rhythm. It trusts that what is meant to return will, and what is meant to leave must. We're not here to collect forever. We're here to experience, to feel, to grow, to release, like a candle that doesn't mourn its melted wax. It simply gives light, like a wave that returns to the sea, not fearing its end, but embracing its becoming. You are not what you keep. You are not what you lose. You are the awareness beneath it all, the sky that watches the clouds come and go. When you hold it too tightly, your hands are too full to receive. But when you let go, you create a sacred emptiness, a fertile ground where clarity can bloom. Ask yourself, what am I holding that no longer holds me? Whose voice still echoes in my mind, though they have long since gone? What outdated dream am I still chasing, though I've already become someone new? You don't owe permanence to pain. You don't owe loyalty to what diminishes you. You owe yourself the truth. And the truth is, not everything is meant to stay. Not everyone is meant to walk your entire path. Some were only there to teach you how to walk at all. And once you've learned, you can thank them and let them go. There is no arrival point more sacred than this. When you realize you're allowed to grow beyond the walls you once built to feel safe, letting go is the wisdom of the butterfly. It doesn't mourn the caterpillar. It honors the becoming. It stretches its wings and trusts the wind. Yes, there will be discomfort. There may be grief. But grief is not the enemy of freedom. Grief is the door. You walk through it, not to carry the past, but to thank it for its time. And bow as you move forward. In the silence after release, something begins to awaken. A lightness, a remembering, not of who you were, but of who you truly are beneath it all. The unshaken, the eternal, the observer, not the possession, the space, not the structure, the being, not the burden. The lotus rises from the mud, not in spite of it, but because of it. What you let go of becomes the soil from which your next becoming will grow. So loosen your grip, breathe deeper, and allow what wants to leave to go. The truth is, it's not loss, it's liberation. There is an emptiness that does not echo with loneliness. It resonates with possibility. This is the silence after the storm, the pause between heartbeats, the space where the soul can hear itself again. When you let go, you don't become less, you become clear, like a mountain shedding fog. What you release is not your identity, but the noise that covered it. So many spend their lives building towers of attachment to roles, to recognition, to relationships that mirror what they fear, not what they are. But even the tallest tower can't touch the sky if it's chained to the earth. And even the most beautiful mask becomes a cage when worn too long. You were not born to hold. You were born to move, to breathe, to transform, to shed skin after skin until what's left is not decoration, but truth. There is a calm you find only after surrender, not because everything is perfect, but because nothing needs to be. You start to see that peace isn't in control, it's in consent, a soft nod to the flow of life, a trust in the intelligence of impermanence. Look at the bamboo. It bends in the wind. It doesn't fight it because it knows resisting change breaks you, but bending allows you to stay rooted while still moving. What are you resisting right now? A goodbye, a change in direction, a part of yourself asking to be seen. Resistance is the friction between your soul and your story, but release that is the alignment. That is the moment when the story no longer writes you, you write it. Do not be afraid of the void. The void is not empty. It is where the sacred gathers, the womb before birth, the space before sound, the breath before the song. And what about the pain, the ache of release? Yes, there is pain in the untangling, but it is not the pain of harm. It is the pain of healing, like stretching muscles long unused, like light entering eyes kept in darkness. There's a saying in Zen, let go or be dragged, dragged by fear, dragged by old patterns, dragged by stories that ended long ago. But letting go, truly, letting go isn't about abandonment. It's about return, returning to stillness, returning to presence, returning to the part of you that was never lost, just layered. Do you see now? Letting go is not losing your path. It's clearing the debris that blocks your view. It's cleaning the window of your awareness. It's remembering the sound of your own name before the world gave you another, even your name. Even that is something you did not choose. So why cling to what others have handed you when the silence within you speaks more truth than any label ever could? The flower doesn't rush its blooming. The moon doesn't force its light. There is no pressure in becoming, only unfolding. Letting go means surrendering your timeline, your shoulds, your need to explain every ending. It means making peace with not knowing and finding power in it. Because in the not knowing, in the open hands, life can finally place something new, something truer, something aligned with who you are, not who you were trained to be. Letting go is remembering that you don't have to carry the mountain. You only need to climb it. We all carry invisible suitcases, memories, fears, regrets, identities stitched by habit. But what happens when you set it down? When you walk without the weight, you begin to notice things. The color of the sky, the feel of the wind, the taste of presence. The world hasn't changed. You have. You've made space. And space is sacred. So many chase peace, as if it lives elsewhere, in a future achievement, a different body, a new relationship. But peace isn't found. Peace is revealed when everything else falls away. And in that space, you find something miraculous. You were never broken, only burdened, not lost, just buried, not empty, but full of what you no longer need. You were always whole, just hidden beneath all the things you thought you had to be. The art of letting go is not the art of escape. It is the art of homecoming to the breath, to the moment, to the self that needs no polishing to be worthy. When you stop clinging, you start flowing. When you stop forcing, you start aligning. When you stop fearing change, you begin to trust life. Letting go is not stepping back, it's stepping in, into stillness, into clarity, into the present, where nothing is missing and nothing needs to be held. And here, in this gentle return, you realize what falls away was never yours to keep. What stays without force, what flows without fear, that is true belonging. There's something sacred about the moment you stop chasing, not because you gave up, but because you woke up. You saw that what you were chasing was already inside you, quietly waiting beneath the noise. Letting go is not retreating from life. It's meeting it without armor, no demands, no expectations, just presence. When you let go of the outcome, you rediscover the joy of the process. When you let go of the need to be seen, you start to truly see. And when you let go of what you thought you needed to survive, you remember how light it feels to simply be. Even the ocean returns to stillness after the storm. Even the wind quiets once the clouds have passed. Why, then, do we believe we must always be in motion, always proving, always pursuing? There is deep power in stillness, not the stillness of inactivity, but the stillness of inner freedom, the kind that can walk through chaos untouched, the kind that knows whatever comes, I will remain. Whatever leaves, I am enough. Letting go means you no longer negotiate your worth with the world. You no longer beg life to validate you. You simply breathe, stand tall, and trust that the same force that turns seeds into forests is moving through you. You become your own refuge, not because you've closed yourself off, but because you've opened yourself to something deeper, something unshakable. The one who lets go becomes like water, shaping without force, flowing without fear, reflecting the world while remaining whole. Letting go doesn't mean there will be no more sorrow. It means you meet sorrow without resistance. You sit beside it without trying to fix it. You listen to its message and let it pass when it's ready. Grief becomes a guest, not a tenant. Anger becomes a messenger, not a master. Fear becomes a doorway, not a wall. And you become a witness, aware, awake, alive. The birds do not worry where their next branch will be. The clouds do not mourn the shape they lose to the wind, and the flame does not apologize for consuming the wick to give light. There is a time for holding on, but there is also a time for release. And release is not abandonment, it is devotion to the truth, to the path, to the self that no longer needs to prove anything to belong. Imagine the life waiting for you on the other side of release. Not a perfect life, but a present one. Not a life without pain, but a life without unnecessary suffering. Not a life with all the answers, but a life finally asking the right questions. Who am I? Beneath what I carry, what is truly mine to hold? What would it feel like to be free? You may not be able to let go all at once, but you can start with one breath, with one truth, with one small act of self-honoring. Set down the story that says you must always endure. Set down the voice that says you are too much or not enough. Set down the weight of becoming and rest in your being. This is not the end. This is the opening, the falling away, the returning home. You are not less when you let go. You are not broken when you release. You are not lost when you surrender. You are free, not because you escaped life, but because you entered it fully, without armor, without apology, without needing anything to stay in order to feel whole. Letting go is not loss, it's liberation. And in that sacred release, you become light. Title: If it's meant for you, it will come. Detachment in love and dreams. Have you ever held water in your hands? Not in a cup, not in a bowl, but in your bare hands, cupped tightly, trembling slightly, as you tried to hold the river in your palms. And no matter how still you stayed, how gentle your fingers curled, it slipped through. Drop by drop, it escaped, until your hands were left wet, but empty. This is how we often love. This is how we often dream. Holding too tightly, hoping that if we just try hard enough, we can keep something that was never meant to be held, only touched, only felt, only witnessed as it passed through. But what if you didn't close your hands? What if you let the river move as it wished and found beauty in the flow, not in the grip? The world whispers to us, chase what you want, go after what you love, cling to what makes you happy. But the old pine tree on the mountain says nothing. It stands still. It sheds what no longer serves it, and it continues to grow, not through striving, but through staying. There is a kind of power in detachment, not apathy, not indifference, but the soft strength of knowing that what is meant for you cannot miss you, and what misses you was never yours to begin with. The lotus does not bloom faster if you pull on its petals. It opens when it is ready, in silence, in rhythm with the sun and the soil and the invisible currents beneath the water. And so must you. Sometimes we mistake effort for control. We try to force clarity, force love, force arrival. We think if we run fast enough, shout loud enough, prove ourselves endlessly, the doors will open and stay open. But have you noticed the doors that truly belong to you? They swing open effortlessly, and the ones you break down with noise often lead nowhere. To detach is not to withdraw. It is not to give up. It is to trust that life has a timing beyond your calendar, a wisdom beyond your plans, a flow beyond your fears. Breathe. You don't have to chase the tide. It comes, and it goes, and it returns. Every morning, the sun rises without your permission. Every night, the stars arrange themselves with no effort from you. Why then must you carry so much weight, as though the universe cannot be trusted? Let go, not of your dreams, not of your desires, but of the gripping, of the desperation, of the belief that you must fight to earn what your soul already deserves. There is something deeply calming in knowing if it is yours. It will find you even in silence, even in stillness, even in the midst of what feels like nothing. But how do we know what is ours? We don't. That's the beauty. You walk your path. You water your roots. You speak truth. You stay open. And what is aligned will align. Not because you twisted the stars, but because you tuned your being. The rain does not ask permission to fall. The tree does not apologize for letting go of dead leaves. Why then do you apologize for letting go of what no longer grows with you? Sometimes love must be released to become love again. Sometimes dreams must be set free so they can return, matured, or make space for truer ones to bloom. You are not losing when you let go. You are clearing the field. You are making room for the sacred to enter without the clutter of insistence. We think holding on shows strength, but often it is the release that requires the deepest courage. Can you love without owning? Can you dream without demanding? Can you believe in arrival without controlling the route? Sit with these questions, not to answer, but to soften, like tea leaves steeping in quiet water. Let the truth emerge slowly. Nothing real ever rushes. The moon does not compete with the sun. It does not panic when hidden by clouds. It trusts its orbit, and maybe that's all you're being asked to do. Trust your orbit. Not everyone will walk with you to the end. Not every seed will bloom. Not every flame will stay lit. But that doesn't mean it was in vain. Some things enter only to teach you how to open, how to feel, how to be alive for a moment, more than you were before. And then they are gone. That is not loss. That is life. Attachment tries to freeze life, but life is not meant to be frozen. It is meant to be felt fully, fiercely, then freely let go. You are not a collector of permanence. You are a vessel of presence, so love like the breeze tender, passing through, leaving behind freshness, not scars. Dream like the sky vast, changing, sometimes clouded, but always open. And when the ache of wanting threatens to close your heart, breathe again. Let the ache remind you of your aliveness, but do not mistake it for truth. You can long without losing peace. You can care without clinging. You can pursue without pushing. And in that space between effort and surrender, life finds you like a bird landing on your open palm, not because you chased it, but because you became still enough for it to trust you. So here you are, hands open, heart steady, eyes clear. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not forgotten by the current of what is meant for you. You are exactly where you need to be to receive what was always on its way. If it's meant for you, it will come. And if it doesn't, something deeper will, something not made by will, but by wisdom, not by force, but by flow. Let it come or let it pass. Either way, you remain. The bamboo does not resist the wind. It bends, it bows, and when the storm passes, it returns to its upright grace, untouched at the root. This is the nature of detachment, not the absence of emotion, but the maturity of it, not coldness, but clarity. You feel deeply, yet are not defined by what stays or leaves. You live fully, yet do not crumble. When things change, as they always do, you begin to understand what is yours will feel like harmony, not hunger. It will arrive gently, without needing you to shrink, perform, or chase. It will not rush you to become someone else. It will love you home. But we're taught to chase, taught to believe. We must earn our worth through noise, through achievement, through pleasing others. And so we overextend, we overpromise, we overstay. Yet the plum blossom teaches otherwise. It blooms before spring, in the chill of late winter, alone not because it needs to be seen, but because that is its time. It trusts its nature, not its applause. Can you be like that? Can you bloom without waiting for the world to notice? Can you rest without needing to prove your productivity? Can you walk away from what hurts, even if it once felt like home? Letting go is not the end. It is a return to yourself, to the place where peace lives, quietly, beneath all that striving. When you release the illusion of control, a strange thing happens. You begin to feel safe again, not because the world changes, but because you stop fighting its rhythm. You begin to see love not as possession, but as presence. You begin to see dreams not as destinations, but as directions, gentle beacons guiding your growth, not cages trapping your worth. And so, you walk softer, you hold looser, you expect less, but experience more. You are no longer in a war with life. You are dancing with it. Even longing becomes sacred, now no longer a wound, but a whisper, a reminder of your capacity to feel, to hope, to reach, and then to release, to want, but not need, to give, but not drain, to build, but not bind. This is the art of living the balance of fire and sky, of breath and stillness, of hunger and contentment. Every breath in is a gift, every breath out, a letting go. Inhale clarity, exhale surrender, and between those two, a quiet truth. You don't have to grip so hard. You don't have to force the bloom, nor catch every falling petal. You are allowed to want something deeply and still be okay if it never arrives. You are allowed to outgrow the dreams you once thought would define you. You are allowed to love and walk away, to hope and not have, to try and still trust even when the answer is silence, because in that space, in the sacred quiet of not knowing, you begin to feel the pulse of something greater, a wisdom that doesn't rush, a timing that doesn't follow clocks, a love that doesn't ask for sacrifice to prove its purity. So let it all pass through you, the joy, the sorrow, the closeness, the parting. Don't grasp, don't trap, let it come. Let it go, let it transform you, and when it's time, you'll know what's meant to stay, because it will not make you chase it. It will sit beside you, like the sun does, asking nothing, giving warmth. It will speak to the quietest part of you, the part that no longer needs convincing. And if it doesn't come, then bless the space it leaves behind. Bless the breath you get back. Bless the self you return to, lighter, freer, rooted once again in what never left you, because that's the final teaching. What you've been searching for isn't out there. It was always you. Home is not a place you find. It is a state you return to when you are no longer performing, no longer pleasing, no longer pushing to be chosen. It is the soft center beneath all the striving, the part of you untouched by rejection or reward, the part that existed before the first praise and will remain after the last goodbye. This is what detachment reveals, not the emptiness of not having, but the richness of not needing. Because the truth is, the more you let go, the more you see. The fog of obsession lifts, the noise of expectation quiets, and what's left is clarity, like a mirror wiped clean, like a sky after rain. You start to notice beauty again, the way light touches a window, the sound of a bird at dawn, the warmth of your own breath. These are the things you missed while chasing. These are the things that return to you. When you return to yourself, you stop asking, why hasn't it come yet? And begin to wonder, what has already come that I never noticed? Love may arrive, or not. The dream may bloom, or shift. But you are no longer shaken either way. Not because you've become hard, but because you've become whole. And when something does arrive, something real, something aligned, something soft, yet strong, you will greet it, not with fear or hunger, but with peace, because you know, now you don't need it to be complete. You are already complete. You are not half of anything. You are not waiting to be filled. You are not a question looking for an answer in someone else's eyes or in the future's applause. You are a living silence, a breathing wholeness, a perfect impermanence, and all that is meant for you will come. Not a second too soon, not a breath too late, but exactly when you are ready, and not before. So walk on, let the seasons turn, let the petals fall, and the rivers swell, and the fires go out. Let people come and people go. Let dreams rise and reshape. Let the wind pass through you, and let your heart remain soft. Soft, not because it was never broken, but because it has learned how to open again without fear. If it's meant for you, it will come, and if it doesn't, let it bless you with its absence, because now you know you were never waiting. You were always becoming, and in that becoming, you became enough. Enough for this moment, enough for the silence, enough for yourself. So let that be the final word. Enough. Not because the world gave it to you, but because you chose to live as if it were true. And in that choice, you became free. Title: Radical Acceptance. The power of not resisting life. There is a moment just before the rain begins, when the world holds its breath, the wind stills, the sky dims, leaves turn their bellies upward, waiting. It is not panic, it is not fear, it is readiness, a surrender to what comes. And maybe that's where life begins, not in the moments we control, but in the moments we allow. We spend our days resisting uncertainty, resisting discomfort, resisting anything that does not fit the story we told ourselves about how life should be. We clench, we fight, we brace against the current, and in doing so, we drown not from the waves, but from the struggle. But what if you didn't fight? What if you let life happen, not as a victim, not as a passive observer, but as one who trusts the intelligence of what is unfolding, even when it hurts, even when it makes no sense? The Zen masters call this radical acceptance, not approval, not indifference, but the sacred art of seeing life as it is, without the fog of judgment or the armor of resistance. The tree does not argue with the wind. It bends. The river does not protest the rock. It curves. The sky does not mourn the passing of the clouds. It clears. You were not made to fight life. You were made to move with it. But the mind tells you otherwise. It whispers that you must fix everything. That pain is a problem. That joy must be chased. That only by controlling can you find peace. And so we tighten. We grasp at what's leaving. We deny what's here. We try to rewrite the present with the ink of the past or the wishes of the future. But peace does not come from changing the moment. Peace comes from meeting the moment exactly as it is, with all its texture, its chaos, its silence, with its unanswered questions and its hidden blessings. Radical acceptance is not weakness. It is the fiercest form of clarity, to look at what is and say, yes, this too, this breath, this sorrow, this longing, this stillness, to let reality be real, not because you have no power, but because true power begins when you stop waging war with the now, when you unclench the fists of your expectations, when you sit beside your own ache like an old friend, instead of trying to outrun it. There is a temple inside you, not made of stone or words or beliefs, but made of presence. And every time you choose to be with what is without flinching, without running, without fixing, you enter it. You return to that sacred space where the breath is enough, where the moment holds no enemy, where even the pain becomes a teacher. Have you ever watched a candle melt? It does not rush. It does not complain. It gives itself fully to the fire, and in doing so, it glows. That is the essence of surrender, not giving up, but giving in to the wisdom of life's unfolding, to the sacred rhythm that carries you, even when you don't understand it. We try so hard to swim upstream, to force joy, to manufacture certainty, to demand guarantees from a life that was never built on certainty in the first place. But the river does not apologize for its bends. It does not explain its detours. It flows because that is its nature. And maybe that is your nature too, to flow, not to force, to meet each moment as a guest, not an enemy, to listen more than you speak, to feel more than you analyze, to be fully, gently, bravely here. Acceptance is not the end of effort. It is the beginning of wise effort. Effort that aligns, effort that listens, effort that does not come from fear, but from love. Because when you stop resisting, you begin to hear again the whisper of your own intuition, the quiet call of the present, the soft voice of something larger than your fear guiding you, not through pressure, but through peace. There is a stillness underneath every storm, a clarity inside every fog, but you will not find it by fighting. You will find it by pausing, by breathing, by bowing to the moment, just as it is. Even the lotus must root in mud. It does not bloom in perfect clarity. It does not rise from crystal water. It emerges through darkness, slow, unseen, and patient, and yet it blooms, not because it hated the mud, but because it honored the process. You too are allowed to grow in the midst of uncertainty. You are allowed to become in the middle of grief. You are allowed to rise through what doesn't yet make sense. Acceptance is not a detour on the path. It is the path. We think we must wait for the clarity to begin, wait for peace to arrive before we breathe deeply, wait for the storm to pass before we feel safe again. But peace is not post-storm. It is mid-storm. It is choosing to breathe with the thunder, to stand still while the winds howl, to say, yes, even this belongs. It is not denial. It is deeper seeing, because only when we stop resisting do we begin to truly observe, to see things not as our minds label them, but as they are, naked, alive, sacred in their own imperfection, the crack in the bowl, the wrinkle around the eyes, the silence in the room, all of it, part of the story. There is no wasted chapter. There is no broken moment that doesn't belong to the whole. Even your mistakes, even your fears, even the parts of you you hide when the world walks in, especially those. They are not errors, they are ingredients, and radical acceptance is letting them be in the recipe of your becoming. This is not softness, as the world defines it. This is strength that doesn't need to shout. This is the strength of roots deep, invisible, holding you even when the surface quakes. When you accept reality as it is, you are no longer its prisoner. You are its student. You begin to ask not, why is this happening to me? But, what is this showing me? You start to listen to the body instead of overriding it, to rest when you're tired, to cry when you're aching, to stop apologizing for being human, because there is no version of enlightenment that requires you to be invincible, only present, only real, only fully here. And yes, you will feel it all. That's the price of awakening, and the reward, to feel everything, to reject nothing, to stop sorting your emotions into good and bad, acceptable and shameful, to say, this anger, too, this fear, too, this joy, too, this stillness, too, because all of it is life, and life is not meant to be sanitized. It is meant to be lived whole, raw, untamed. Radical acceptance does not mean you stop growing. It means you grow from a different soil, not from resistance, but from rootedness, not from shame, but from self-regard. You begin to act not out of panic, but from peace. You begin to choose not out of scarcity, but from clarity, and you stop waiting for some perfect version of yourself to arrive before you begin loving the one who's already here. Because this is the one who needs you, not the future you, not the one who figures it all out, but the you who is tired, the you who is grieving, the you who still flinches at the sound of your own truth. Sit with that version, not to fix, not to change, but to honor. Radical acceptance begins when you no longer make your pain the villain of your life. When you look at your sadness and say, I see you. When you touch your anxiety and say, I will not abandon you. When you stand before the mirror, scars and all, and whisper, I do not need to become beautiful. I already am. This is the revolution, not outside, but within. There is a kind of freedom that doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like waking up and not dreading your own thoughts. It looks like sitting in silence without needing to escape. It looks like not arguing with the past. Every morning you open your eyes. This is what happens when you stop resisting, when you stop trying to be anything other than what you are in this moment, in this breath, in this body. The world may still demand 1,000 things of you, but inside, you are no longer moved by the storm. You are the stillness behind it, because you've stopped chasing the illusion of control. You've stopped expecting life to be painless in order to be beautiful. And now, beauty is everywhere. In the dishes you wash slowly, in the wind pressing against your cheeks, in the tears that rise without shame and fall without apology. You are no longer filtering life through should and shouldn't. You are seeing with unclouded eyes. There is space now between the trigger and your reaction, between the noise and your breath, between the old patterns and your new choices. And that space, that's where you find yourself. Not the self you perform, not the self others curated, but the one who was waiting underneath it all. The self who says, I don't need to be better to be worthy. I don't need to be understood to be real. I don't need to win to be at peace. This self does not rise through force. It emerges through allowance, like mist over a quiet lake, like green after snow, like the first moment of stillness after years of running. And when you live from that place, something strange happens. You stop needing life to be fair. You stop needing people to be different. You stop needing the future to unfold in any particular way, because you are not here to grip. You are here to witness. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to express your truth. Even when your hands are empty, your heart is full. Even when the day is hard, your breath is soft. Even when the path is unclear, your feet know how to move. This is not bypassing. This is not surrendering your power. This is reclaiming it by no longer giving it away to every twist and turn of circumstance. You begin to see that your peace is not a product of external perfection, but of internal permission. Permission to stop performing, permission to feel deeply, permission to be fully human without shame. And in that permission, you begin to trust yourself again, to know that you are not the pain you carry. You are the space that holds it. You are not the storm. You are the sky. It passes through. The sky has never once tried to stop the storm. It simply makes space, widening, stretching, allowing all things to pass through it, light and dark, thunder and silence without losing itself. You are that sky. When you remember this, you begin to live differently. You stop grasping for peace like it's something far away. You realize it's already here under the resistance, behind the expectations, beneath the endless fixing. It's always been here, waiting for you to notice. Radical acceptance is not a philosophy. It is a practice, a breath by breath return to what is, to who you are, to this moment, which is the only place life has ever truly lived. No more waiting for permission to rest. No more postponing peace until the world behaves. No more rejecting yourself in the name of some distant idea of perfection. You are not here to win life. You are here to feel it, to sit inside it, to walk with it, to bow to its wild mystery. And when pain arrives, you will greet it, not with fear, not with denial, but with presence. You will let it teach you. You will let it pass. And when joy returns, you will not clutch it. You will not demand it stay. You will simply breathe it in and let it go, like wind through open hands. This is the deepest strength, to hold nothing and fear nothing, to trust that what is here belongs, to trust that what leaves was never meant to stay, to trust that who you are, as you are, is not an interruption in life's plan, but its very expression. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not late. You are unfolding. You are not behind. You are exactly where healing begins, in the willingness to be with life as it is. No more war, no more struggle, only breath, only now, only the soft, silent power of one soul, finally at peace with the rhythm of things. This is radical acceptance. This is your return. And in that return, you are already free. You are already home. Title: Wu Wei, do less. Achieve more, the art of not forcing. A leaf does not push the river. It floats. It rides the gentle turns, the sudden dips, the quiet pools, and the roaring falls without resistance, without agenda. It trusts the river to carry it, not because the river is safe, but because forcing would break it. This is Wu Wei, the art of effortlessness, the path of alignment, not aggression, the way of allowing, not imposing. It is not laziness. It is not indifference. It is the wisdom of knowing that everything has a time, everything has a pace, and not all things bend to the force of will. We are taught to fight for everything, to prove, to push, to hustle, as if life is a mountain that must be conquered inch by inch. But life is not a mountain, it is a river, and the more you tense, the more you sink. But if you soften, if you release the need to dominate each moment, you begin to rise, carried not by force, but by flow. What if the problem isn't that you're not doing enough, but that you're doing too much of what goes against your nature? What if success isn't built on striving, but on sinking? There is a silence in the forest that works harder than noise. A flower blooms without an announcement. The moon does not scream to be seen, and yet it is seen, it is felt, it moves tides. There is power in presence, power in stillness, power in choosing not to interfere with what is already unfolding. When a farmer plants rice, he does not pull the seed upward to make it grow. He waters, he waits, he clears what blocks the sun, but he does not force Wu Wei is this waiting, this clearing, this humble alignment with the natural flow of things. We have become so used to forcing outcomes that we've forgotten how to trust them. We try to squeeze meaning from every moment, demand love to appear on our schedule, drag success from soil that has not yet rested, and in doing so, we exhaust ourselves not from the work itself, but from the war with time. You were not born to battle life. You were born to move with it, to sense the current and join it, to know when to act and when to let the action arise through you. Like a wave finding the shore, there is a bamboo grove that grows silently in the mountains. For years, you see nothing but small shoots, and then, one season it rises, meters in weeks, not because it suddenly became powerful, but because it waited, because the work was happening below in the dark, in the unseen, in the quiet patience of becoming. This is the way of Wu Wei. Not everything visible is progress. Not every still moment is stuck. Sometimes the deepest growth happens when you are doing the least, to sit with your breath, to listen instead of reply, to allow a plan to fall apart so something better can assemble in its place. These are not passive acts. They are wise ones, because non-doing does not mean nothing is done. It means nothing is forced. And there's a difference. When you push, you tighten, you narrow your vision, you grasp at control. But when you release, when you breathe, step back, and trust the wisdom that built the stars and seasons, you expand. You make space for grace, for timing, for mystery, for a result that may not be yours to create, but yours to receive. It takes courage to wait. It takes strength to pause instead of react. It takes wisdom to know when the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all, because some things bloom only when you stop touching them. Some waters clear only when you stop stirring them. Some truths reveal themselves only in silence, and some dreams come not when you chase them, but when you become still enough to be found. We forget how to receive because we are always reaching. We stretch our arms toward everything we think we must hold, must own, must secure, forgetting that the most precious things often land only in open hands. Wu Wei is the art of holding space, not outcomes. It is the humility to say, I do not need to shape every moment. I only need to meet it. And from that meeting, something extraordinary happens. Not dramatic, not explosive, but subtle, sacred, and strong. You begin to trust that life is not against you. You begin to sense that things are not always late, only ripening. The plum does not sweeten because you beg it. It ripens because the sun arrives in its own time, because the earth knows how to nourish when left undisturbed. Can you trust your own season? Can you allow a pause without panic? Can you sit in the emptiness and recognize it, not as lack, but as potential? Most of what we call anxiety is simply our resistance to stillness, our inability to let things come in their own way, our discomfort with the space between desire and fulfillment. But look at the sky. The sky holds both clouds and clarity. It does not rush one away to make room for the other. It lets both exist. It offers space to all. This is Wu Wei, the way of the sky, spacious, non-resistant, inclusive of every moment. And this way is not weakness, it is mastery, because to do less is not to shrink, it is to sharpen, to refine your presence, to conserve your energy for what truly aligns, like the archer who does not fire wildly, but waits for stillness, then releases. You begin to see that most things do not need your intervention, they only need your awareness. The water does not need to be stirred. The flame does not need to be shouted into warmth. Sometimes the highest intelligence is in waiting. Sometimes the greatest act of love is in restraint. To let someone go without punishing them, to let yourself rest without guilt, to let a plan dissolve without assuming you've failed. This is not nothing. This is presence in its purest form, doing without overdoing, being without needing, responding without rushing. You are not here to manufacture your existence. You are here to embody it. You are not here to force your way through the forest. You are here to walk with it, to see which path parts for you naturally and which ones whisper, not now. And sometimes the whisper is the most sacred guidance. You don't need more speed. You need more trust. You don't need to force the doors. You need to stand before them with quiet clarity and wait for the one that opens without bruising your shoulder, because that's the one meant for you. In this way, Wu Wei is not passivity, it is precision, not laziness, but listening, not control, but communion, with breath, with time, with the rhythm that was always here, under your plans, beneath your will, quietly asking, will you flow with me now? There is an intelligence that lives in silence, not the silence of absence, but the silence of readiness, like a lake unbroken by wind, clear enough to reflect the sky. Wu Wei teaches you to become that lake, to become still enough to hear your own wisdom, to stop trying to outthink the universe and instead feel where it's already flowing. It is a radical shift from control to connection, from how can I make this happen to what is already wanting to happen through me. The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. One path fills you with tension, the other empties you of resistance. One path says, try harder. The other asks, what if you're already enough? Because effort by itself is not the problem. It's the effort born from fear, the kind that fights against the grain of reality, the kind that says, I don't trust life to carry me, so I must carry everything. But have you ever seen a bird carry the wind? It doesn't. It opens its wings and lets itself be lifted. You can do the same. You can open your awareness, feel the moment, sense the invisible currents, and act not with force, but with harmony, not with noise, but with knowing, because there's a kind of action that emerges not from panic, but from peace, a doing that feels like non-doing, a movement that feels like stillness. When you are in Wu Wei, things unfold with grace, not because you made them happen, but because you let them. And yes, there will still be effort, but it will feel clean, clear, nourishing, like a tree reaching toward the sun, not out of desperation, but because light is its nature. You begin to act from nature, too, from alignment, not ambition, from clarity, not comparison. You speak less, but your words carry more truth. You move less, but your steps leave more impact. You stop chasing and start attracting, because when you are at peace with the pace of things, life begins to respond in kind. Doors open where there were none. People arrive without explanation. What you used to fight for now flows to you, not because you surrendered your dreams, but because you surrendered your resistance. And in that surrender, you become magnetic. Calm becomes your gravity. Stillness becomes your signal. And your very presence begins to do what your pressure never could. That is the essence of Wu Wei, doing without straining, being without shrinking, becoming without chasing. Let go, not to lose, but to rise. There is a way of walking where your feet do not disturb the ground, a way of living where your actions do not disturb your spirit. This is Wu Wei, not absence of action, but absence of friction. You still show up, you still move, you still choose, but you no longer grind against the grain of life. You no longer confuse urgency with importance. You no longer mistake effort for worth. You begin to see that the river already knows the way. Your task is not to redesign the flow, but to remove the rocks you placed there, the doubt, the control, the endless doing. And then it flows. And then you flow, not because everything is easy, but because you are no longer resisting what is. Even in hardship, you soften. Even in uncertainty, you relax your grip. Even in chaos, you breathe. And remember that not every fire needs to be put out by your hands. Some burn only to make space for light. Wu Wei asks you to trust the space between, the gap between effort and outcome, the silence between the question and the answer, the pause between the inhale and the exhale. It is in this space that peace lives, not the peace of perfection, but the peace of presence. And from presence, everything right arises, not rushed, not forced, not polished for performance, but true, because when you do less, what matters most remains. When you stop pushing, what's real starts arriving. When you stop trying to control, you become available for what was always meant for you. So rest now, not in withdrawal, but in wisdom. Sit beside the unfolding of your life, not as its architect, but as its witness. Trust the intelligence that holds the seasons, that spins the stars, that pulses within your own chest. You are not separate from the way. You are not apart from the Tao. You are it, already flowing, already whole, already here. And in remembering that, you no longer need to force anything to happen. You only need to allow what is already becoming through you. And that, quietly, patiently, powerfully, is enough.